revolution. 10 years after, people again went out in the street because the changes didn't happen. Today, again, many people are deceived because they don't see rapid changes. But I think that it's mistaken and wrong to expect changes right away. And I think that Ukraine will have to have few more revolutions.
Yeah. So speaking of that, do you think, what does the average person in Ukraine feel about how the rest of the world views them now? Because I sense that the people of Ukraine want more help from the West, and that, you know, in America we talk about it. You know, we talked about it for like the 2 weeks that Putin was moving troops in or whatever it was. There was a 2-week window where we talked about it. Now we just completely forget about it. Is there a disappointment on behalf of the people, sort of how the world has reacted to what's happened there?
Well, of course, yes, there is a disappointment because, you know, people feel that, people know that their government is actually unable to do something, to change something. And since people give, you know, from the square in Maidan, they were giving the messages to the world, of course they do expect from other states, more powerful or so-called democratic, who already reached a certain level, who could help and support, and especially those who supported verbally but do not support practically. Of course, many people are, as I said, deceived and disappointed today, and even some come to the point when they say that with Yanukovych, with the dictator, it was better because at least we had what to eat and his government didn't touch us.
Yeah, so last thought on this, and then we're going to move on to some of the feminism stuff. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think, didn't Ukraine have nukes, which they gave up as part of that they would get NATO protection once they were an independent nation? And basically that just didn't happen, right? So they sort of gave up their protection, the weapons that would have protected them, and then they get this invasion, or whatever you want to call it, from Russia. And now
ain't that some fucking shit? I didn't know
right
that.
There doing nothing. We're doing nothing. So it was really like
literally
an unfortunate decision, I suppose.
Insufficient.
Just
I mean,
the only protection you got. Why don't you hand it over to us? We got you.
Decision on NATO, I think it will be too complex discussion.
Okay, fair enough.
More because, well, there are a lot of sides of this question, but yes, this is what happened, and of course many people today thinking back and think that what kind of mistakes were done, but at that moment it seemed to be a very correct decision, because
should have kept them nukes, bro.
Nobody could expect that Putin would suddenly decide to occupy the territories and prove the world that he's even bigger dictator than already the world perceive him.
Okay, well, I know we can talk about that political stuff forever, so let's move on to the stuff that you're really passionate about. And it's funny because at the top of the show I do my direct message where I give my feelings of the week, and I wrote my little piece about it yesterday, and then right after I wrote it, I watched your TED Talk. And basically your TED Talk was a 20-minute sort of much broader version of exactly what I happened to write about yesterday by total coincidence. And I know that the things that you talk about are the things that I'm incredibly passionate about and that I've made the show about. So you had a great quote in your TED Talk. You said that Femin is a movement that is trying to rebuild society without permission. I love that line. So can you just expand on that a little bit? What made you start Femin, and where do you think it's going?
Well, particularly about that statement, I should say that anyone who is dreaming to rebuild the world should count that, you know, you should not ask for permission because nobody will ever give it to you. So if you dream to change something, you should not ask for permission or wait when someone will give you that permission.
You'll be waiting a long time.
Right. And it will never happen, yes, because, well, in Ukraine, as I said, we started in Ukraine movement in 2008, where the movement already exists for 8 years. And I should say that when we started, we didn't have any particular knowledge of, you know, political knowledge, or didn't know how to work with media. I told you already that we didn't really have a clear understanding what feminism
you went for the same
about.
kind of thing, which I was able to punish because
I don't feel embarrassed or shy to say about that, because I think this should show and reflect the society in which we were growing up. I remember joining this little group about which nobody knew at that moment yet. we had a meeting in a very Soviet-style cafe in the center of Kiev, sharing 2 cups of tea for 15 of us, because we were all young students coming from small cities to Kiev, dreaming that this will be the place where we will have as women opportunities, and the only opportunities we were proposed, even in this big city and capital that looked for us huge, tremendous place. We only had opportunities, well, similar to those that I saw, opportunities that women had in my childhood, you know, to serve someone. And of course, very often Ukrainian women are, because many claim that they're beautiful, but what is true, they're not educated and poor, and this becomes a reason to easily involve women in sexual exploitation, prostitution. And of course, you know, on my way to university every day, I could be, first of all, harassed, second, receive many flyers from pimps or brothels who would propose you to go to work. And many women, many girls did go and you know, applied for such a job because you don't have other possibilities, because you're not proposed anything else. So for us, the first reason to start our activity was to fight this disease, this illness of Eastern Europe, considering women as sex slaves, as prostitutes, and we were campaigning against prostitution and sex tourism, which is really widespread disease in Ukraine particularly, and we were campaigning against that, wearing pink clothes and carrying pink balloons and pink flags, believing that with this pink color we will attract attention to this problem. However, of course, we failed, and organizing protests with 100, 200 female activists, nobody was even stopping when they were passing by to read our banners. And we were in search of tactics, of the ways how we can attract attention of this very apolitical, again, desperate society to something very essential, to the rights of women, something that the whole world is already talking about, accepting, changing, you know, adopting laws. Yeah, well, for 2 years we were in this desperate search, and in 2010 we saw that the situation in Ukraine was changing because the dictator, which we understood later, dictator Yanukovych, was elected as a president, and the situation was changed. You could immediately feel the censorship in media, you could immediately feel the change of political situation and the mood in the country, and we understood that we probably have to go as a female activist, as female voices, we probably have to campaign about something broader, something that brings us to this problem, you know, more limited problems such as prostitution and sex tourism, something that is, you know, to the root of the problem, the political situation, the economical situation, those people who bring the society in such state. So we did our first topless protest 2010. To be honest, it was more as an experiment. It was also sort of a scream from inside, and as I said, it was, you know, a decision made during this, you know, being in a desperate search of how to let people hear women's voices and their problems.
How did that first moment feel for you when you did the topless protest? Because you guys, even if it hadn't picked up much traction, you were already talking about things, as you've said, that were sort of not accepted in your society. So you're already going against the grain. But then, yeah, you realized, all right, we've got to do something that's going to really get us publicity the right way and all that. How did literally that first moment when you took off your top feel?
Well, I should say that I didn't do that moment because I did it a year after, because we had a huge discussion in the group. Well, sort of even a fight about whether to do it or not. And I was one of those who were against topless protests. So that came later for me, but definitely it had a huge effect, because we not only had an unpopular speech, but we also used a very unpopular tactic. We were showing something, an image of a woman, which is very unpopular in this society. the image of woman which was popular in Ukraine was the, a nice, smiling, sexy, cleaning lady. But we were showing a screaming, angry, bare-breasted woman with a message, with slogan written across her chest, which was something that was breaking completely the definition, the definition or imagination, the context in which people could see the woman and the definition of woman generally in Ukraine. And of course, it attracted a lot of attention. Different attention, as well as some support, very small support from Ukraine, and of course we felt a huge support from abroad, and a lot of criticism, of course. We've been named prostitutes immediately because we were naked, which again revealed something that for people, naked woman is equal to prostitute, and actually I should say that this protest what we are reaching, I think that we are committing sort of a test for democracy. We commit a test, we test the society, and with this tactic, with the messages and speeches that we have, we test society and we reveal a lot. We reveal a lot.
Gotta love that European internet.
So I should say that what we actually do, very often people say women are violent because we are aggressive, because we are screaming. So which immediately makes it clear that for people, a woman who is angry is violent, is something violent. You're fine to see angry man, but woman which is not smiling or keeping silent, but who's screaming is something violent.
Right, and you're not out there. You're not out there killing people.
Right. Well, we're probably killing some people by our messages. I mean, of course, literally, we do not harm.
She just admitted to murder, killing.
We don't touch anyone physically. We can touch and attack ideas by our ideas. But what actually do is we appear, take off our top, and strip our ideas written on our bodies. We create. I think that we transform our bodies in political messages, in our manifesto, in posters, if you want. These are our posters on which we write our slogans. And I think this way, I think it's kind of, there are a few functions. Because first function, of course, is to provoke, to attract attention. Second is that we change the meaning of what naked body is. It's not, there are so many, you can see women, naked women everywhere, on covers of magazines, on billboards. They are posing, smiling, sexy. What we are showing women who's not sexy, but, she's political, her body is political, she's not smiling, she's screaming, she's not inviting you to use her, she's refusing, she's showing her anger, she's showing that she's demanding something. And of course, this is something that breaks a lot of stereotypes and rules and traditions, particularly in society like Ukraine, or generally in many countries, we received a very different reaction on such protests, and I think it reveals a lot, it mirrors a lot.
Well, what's interesting is you're really talking about the true roots of what feminism really is. You are demanding to be accepted as an absolute equal to a man, which really is what first wave feminism here in the West was. It's now changed and morphed into something else. But all you're demanding sort of is equality. I've seen you described as a sextremist. Do you like that word? Do you guys, you've used that word a little bit, but I've heard it about you more.
Right. Well, this is the word that we created actually, and we identify ourselves as sextremists because we use our sex, the fact that we are female, as our weapon. Our bodies are our weapons, and I think this is also sort of an answer to fundamentalists, to terrorists who use the guns, who actually kill people. We show them my body is my weapon, because first of all you are scared of it as if it was actually a weapon which could kill you, and second you see that this body really can destroy can destroy bad ideas, or at least challenge them, provoke them, create discussions. So yes, we call ourselves sextremists because we use our sex as our weapon.
Boom.
Our body is our weapon.
Okay, so as I mentioned at the top of the show,
You can
and
win once on me,
here,
but the
quite
second
obviously,
game,
it's
you
not
make a
just
mistake,
that you talk about these
I'm
things, but
gonna
you
shit on ya.
literally are putting your
I'm
life
gonna
on the
shit
line. I
on
mean,
ya is what's
just
gonna
by
happen.
taking your shirt off, the amount of people
GG.
who you've